Today on Politics Unplugged, a big change in Arizona's race for governor. We'll talk to one of the top Republican candidates vying for the job. And does anybody win a government shutdown? Our panel weighs in now on Politics Unplugged. Good evening. I'm political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged. Congressman Andy Biggs has served Arizona in the House for many, many years now, and now he's looking to move to the governor's office in a race that just got a little more crowded this week. He's here to talk about that. I want to thank you very much for stopping back by here, and welcome back. It has been such a long time. I'm really pleased that you're back here. We're going to be talking about all this. You're running for governor. But you are still a congressman, and some things are happening this week. We got to talk a little bit about the shutdown. Sure. I want to get your general assessment where things stand right now. Do you think this is going to be a protracted, long shutdown, or do you think this can get solved anytime soon?
I don't think it's going to be really going a long time. In fact, my prediction is, don't hold me to this, Dennis, but I think probably next Monday or Tuesday, you're going to see a vote come out of the Senate where I think it's going to get resolved.
A vote coming out of the Senate, you think in the next couple of week or so?
Next Monday or Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What gives you so much optimism there? Because I'm talking to a lot of people, and it's very pessimistic at this point. I'm hearing people saying, well, this could be, let's go to the mattresses here.
Yeah. I think that there's a faction within the Senate that probably would like to see it go a long time, but the fact that you already have two Democrats and Angus King, who's an independent, who've already walked over and voted for this CR, the fact that the Democrats just voted for this in March, and now they're saying we don't want to do it now, I think that they're going to come around, and I think having a weekend more of getting more pressure actually might bring them back to the table.
One of the things Democrats have been holding out for is they want to negotiate some sort of a deal to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Yeah. And this is related to you running for governor, because this could have a big impact on a whole lot of Arizonans. I mean, some accounts it's like 340,000 Arizonans on the market that could see their health care premiums skyrocket if these subsidies go away. Yeah. Are you willing to commit to try to get that done before the end of the year and extend those subsidies?
I'm not sure you're going to see that go forward. There's some other ways that are being discussed on how to resolve that. Things like grandfathering in people and keeping those there, but not bringing in new people and those types of things on the subsidies. So there's that debate that's going on, and right now it looks like insurance companies are making out like bandits on that thing. And there's also a lot of fraud in this program. So I don't know, you're asking for a direct question. I don't know that I'm going to support it as is. Let's see what comes out of it, because I mean they're talking seriously about doing things like grandfathering and trying to get rid of fraud and waste in that program.
Yeah, and what would you like to see in that to get behind something like that? Again, there's a lot of Arizonans on the marketplace, and they would see their health care premiums just shoot up.
Yeah, well, one thing that you'd want to do is if you grandfather people in, that's going to have a pretty solid effect to keep people who are there already in place. And if you're getting rid of the fraud, and that's where they're talking about that too. So we've got a lot of people perhaps of those 340,000 who aren't legally actually on that program. And the other thing I would say is you also have the Democrats asking for us to get rid of the provisions of the big beautiful bill, whatever we're calling it now, that would actually remove illegal aliens from receiving those same benefits. So it's a little bit convoluted, but you're never going to get there if the Democrats continue the shutdown. And right now, I think they're going to move, and I think there'll be debates going on until November 20th, which is what the CR goes to.
All right, let's start talking about your governor's race. The reason why you're here today, and I want to give you, just a quick 30 seconds, your elevator pitch. Why you running for governor?
Yeah, so I actually have a vision on how to run the state. I think my counterpart, the Democrat Katie Hobbs, has vetoes. She's done this, and so there's no reason that this state isn't the safest state. There's no reason that we've gone from number 4 in job creation to now number 47. There's no reason that we've kind of stopped building single-family homes in the state. And we need a governor who knows how to run and govern the state, knows how this process works, and I do, and worked with a couple of governors. I know that side of it as well. I wrote state budgets, and when I left, we had a surplus, we had high record job growth, and that's where we need to get back to.
Okay, what is specifically, if you can pick out a few things there, maybe a couple of bullet points, what is the vision out there? What do you want to accomplish? Because, you know, governors, you know, I've covered enough of them, people running for this, and they promise everything, but you're lucky to get a few, if you get a few things done. What's, right. What's top for you?
Well, the first thing that we're going to do is when I get in, I'll be working in collaboration with the legislature, which is rarely happened, right? I mean, you know this, Dennis.
Yeah.
Really happened. So we're going to get together. This governor's vetoed like 250, 300 bills. We're going to go through and identify those bills. How about the 21 rural water bills that she vetoed? How about the election integrity bill, which would have changed Arizona's elections and made us the gold standard like Florida? How about the no CCP ownership of land in Arizona? How about doing those things and getting those and do them with as mirror bills? You know how this works. You do mirror bills, you get through, and you start moving those right away in January. So we want to make sure that we have good public safety, make sure that we have the resources. DPS has almost 500 billets open right now. We need to fill those up, make sure that they have the resources. How about this? We still have the #1 human and drug trafficking corridor in the country. Most of the rest of the border is closed down. We've got a problem. We're going to have to solve that problem. We've got water. There's this massive fear saying, our current governor has come out and said, Arizona doesn't have any more water. Well, we have 600 million acre-feet of water underground. How about letting us recharge it, Governor? How about let us change the water? How about the power structure? These are things that we will get to very specifically. And as you know, Dennis, I could talk a long time on all this stuff.
Yeah, you're not a senator, but you're filibustering. Yeah. You know what I'm saying. I do want to ask you. You know, you said the governor had vetoed a lot of bills, and she has vetoed a lot of bills, and she has warned them. You know, to be fair to her, she has given them every indication that, you know, if you send me a lot of these bills, I'm going to veto them. Not only have they sent that to her, you know, even with that warning, they've sent it back to her after she's vetoed it the first time. One of the things that she's vetoed a lot of election bills. I know when President Trump said that the executive order, he wanted to get rid of mail-in balloting. You thanked him on Twitter. Is this something you would do as governor? Would you get rid of mail-in voting?
No, we're not going to get rid of mail. 85% of Arizonans vote by mail-in ballot. But even Jimmy Carter understood pretty clearly the most susceptible form of voting for fraud is mail-in ballots. And so if you're going to do mail-in ballots, maybe you have to doctor up the PEVL list, that permanent early voter list. That's a huge problem for us. And how do I know?
Well, we don't have PEVL anymore.
Well, but we're still trying. We're still using those voter lists. You got to clean up the voter list. You got to clean those up. It's not been done. Why do I know? Because I actually have one of my married daughters who hasn't lived in Arizona for 8, 9, 10 years. I'm getting her ballot.
Okay. And a final question for this segment. I want to end on this. One of the big storylines in this Republican primary is the fact that you and one of your opponents, Karen Taylor Robson, you've both been endorsed by Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's endorsement in primary elections has been pivotal. We've seen it play out here. We've seen how important it is across the map. What's the difference between the endorsements? Why is your endorsement better than hers or vice versa?
Well, I'm just going to speak to mine. I don't know what their arrangement is, but I do know this. I've been with President Trump since 2016. I've been in every foxhole with him, and I got his personal cell phone number.
You've said that before, yes.
Yeah, and we talk. We talked recently. We talked this week, and we talk about issues. And I think people can look at me, and I have a record of supporting Donald Trump, and he has a record of supporting me.
Yeah.
That is critical vis-a-vis anybody else in this race.
And what is the biggest differences? Have you ever had differences with Donald Trump, and what are they?
When I've had differences with President Trump, the first one that ever came to mind was the ACA deal. And I wanted a clean repeal because that's what we all ran on. And they were doing a little schnookering going on over there. And I told them, I said, I can't do it.
Okay, we're going to take a real quick break, and we're going to bring you right back. But still ahead, we're going to look at the congressman's record when he was a member of the state legislature, when Politics Unplugged continues. And welcome back to Politics Politics Unplugged. We're keeping Representative Andy Biggs here to talk about his run for governor. We talked a little bit about the shutdown, what's going on now, a little bit with some of the politics going on with your race. Let's talk a little bit more about your legislative record, because people who may not be familiar with you knows that you had a long career in the state legislature. Meaning you know state issues here, but you also have a long voting record. And I want to talk a little bit.
I do have a long voting record.
Yes, a long time. Now, you ended your career in the legislature as the Senate president, negotiating various budgets. Care to talk a little bit about what your approach was when you were doing that?
Yeah, so I did that as majority leader and appropriations chair in the Senate. So, I was always on appropriations committee. My approach was, we want to make sure that we balance the budget. If we can, have a little surplus, try to find a way to give money back to the voters. And is everything we're doing constitutional? And if we've got fraud, waste, let's get rid of it. That was the policy side of it. On the procedure side, it was, let's be open and transparent with, certainly with my team, which was the Republican side. And there were times that we had little, you got to deal with that. You know, sometimes people are a little bit upset and they want something more or different. You try to deal with the push me, pull you that way, but you do that by being honest, transparent, and just working your tail off with them.
And there was a couple of specific decisions you made, and I tried to talk to you about this before, and I've never really had a chance to talk to you about that. You know, the Colorado City bill. Yeah. There was a bill, and a couple of Republican colleagues accused you of killing this bill, and this bill would have decertified the Colorado City Police Department. This is like a little over 10 years ago. Yeah. The reason for why people were supporting this on a bipartisan basis was, at the time, people looked at the Colorado City Police Department as still being loyal to Warren Jeffs. Now, Warren Jeffs ended up going to prison. He was the leader of the FDLS church. He went to prison for various crimes, including sex crimes and involving children. Again, two of the sponsors of that bill were Republican. They went on camera, on record a few years ago, and accused you of burying that bill. Did you bury that bill, and why did you do that? Because it passed the House and it never was brought up for a vote in the Senate.
Well, I can't remember the procedure. I do remember the bill. I do remember that we were still trying to get all the information that we possibly could on whether somebody was corrupt, because that was the accusation. And I'm not sure we ever got to whether there was absolutely corrupt and whether the state should be taking over.
Did you ever feel like, you may have been in jeopardy of maybe protecting some of the things that were going on up there and allowing that to continue? Well,
we knew that Mr. Jeffs was under investigation. He was going to go away. And we knew that other people were also under investigation. No, I wasn't concerned that we were going to actually bury stuff. What I was concerned about is, did we have enough as a state to step in, as a state legislature, and decertify? And was it being done by people with a political agenda? I don't know, but that was also raised too.
Okay, and there was another bill, and this has been alluded to in some reports out there, and people talk about it and bring it up when I'm talking about you to them. When you started your legislative career, and we're going back to about 2005, there was a bill that would have increased the penalties for spousal rape. It would have brought the penalties from a Class 6 felony to, I believe, a Class 4 or Class 2 felony.
It was a 4 to 2.
Yeah, a 4 to 2.
It was Class 4 to 2.
I thought it was 6.
No,
because a lot of that stuff, I mean, if we go back and look at that, it was, the issue was a Class 6 felony can get pleaded down to a misdemeanor. Right. And, you voted against upping those penalties, and I wanted to ask you, why did you do that, and what's your view on that today?
Yeah, so my view on it is, at least at the time, of course, you're asking me about almost 25 years ago.
I get that.
And so what I will tell you is, number one, you actually you had stacking available. You had additional, basically, escalations of sentences available. Those were all still there. And the way I analyze it, I read the bill, and my constituents know this is the fact. I read the bill, I talk to people involved, and I say whether we should do this or whether we shouldn't. They trust me to do that. They've trusted me to do that for 20-some odd years. Nobody's asking me about that now but you. I'm going all over the state.
It's going to get brought up in the campaign, so I'm just bringing it out right now.
My political opponents will do it, but the people who've watched me over the years, they know one thing. Andy always tells us the truth. Andy tells us what he's going to do, and Andy does what he tells us he's going to do. Yeah. That's what happens. You're asking me about 25 years ago.
I know.
I'm looking at it.
It's 20 years ago.
I'm thinking back, and I thought it was a Class 4 in recollection. I may be wrong. I'll go back and look. But in any event, I do know you had everything I said. You got stackers. You got, and when I say stackers, what I'm talking about, you get to stack penalties on top of each other.
Sure. So you stand by the vote from what your recollection is.
From my recollection, yeah. I mean, would we go back and I would suggest maybe what you want to do is, if you really wanted to find out if this was a bad vote or not, go into people and ask them how many cases, because I guess the bill got through anyway, how many cases have actually been filed under that? Okay. And were there other reasons that there were filings or that where people were not getting filed on? And I'm just saying, contextually, I get it. People want to take something out and say, oh, we're going to dangle this over here for political meat. Mm-hmm. And they want to do that as opposed to say, well, contextually, what was going on at the time? And what is going on now? And did it make any difference? And was Biggs right? And what I've found is nobody's asking me about that. People are asking me, hey, how come I can't buy a house anymore? Okay. And they're asking about the economy. They're asking, how come I don't feel safe? How come our border's still open? All of these things they're asking about, Dennis.
All right. I want to thank you. We have to end right there, but I want to thank you for coming on here.
Yeah.
Not all easy questions, but I do thank you coming on here and answering them. And up next, we'll be bringing in our panel to talk about all of this week's major headlines, including the start of the government shutdown. That's next, right here on Politics Unplugged. And to get more in-depth on the issues, check out the Politics Unplugged podcast this week. I'm joined by Congressman David Schweikert to talk about his decision to run for governor. The Politics Unplugged podcast drops every Sunday evening wherever you get your podcasts. It's time for a quick look at the major headlines of the week. This is your political roundup. We start in the nation's capital with the government shutdown. A standoff between Democrats and Republicans over a funding bill led to a temporary halt of some government agencies and services. And there was a big moment in Arizona politics that could shake up the state's race for governor and determine the balance of power in Congress. Representative David Schweikert jumped into the Republican primary for governor, making it a three-way race. He joins fellow Congressman Andy Biggs and businesswoman Karen Taylor Robeson. The winner of the primary will face incumbent Governor Katie Hobbs in the general election. Schweikert's decision suddenly leaves his highly competitive congressional seat wide open as Republicans fight to keep control of the House. Top Republican names to replace him include several state lawmakers, as well as the current chair of the state GOP, Gina Swoboda. And here to talk about all of that is Republican consultant Marcus Dell'Artino and Democratic consultant Stacy Pearson. Thanks for being here. Let's talk a little bit with David Schweikert jumping into the race. I mean, does he have a lane and does he have a good chance, a decent chance of winning the Republican nomination? There's three people in this race. Two of them have a Trump endorsement. One does not.
Yeah, and more telling, I think you need to go back and look at that Washington Post interview he did, which was a lot more lengthy, and he talks about why he's getting in the race. But there's his point being that he thinks that there's a more moderate lane in the Republican primary for him to win. And I respectfully would probably disagree with him on that. If you look at how primaries work in Arizona and the turnout numbers, had he run as an independent, with the fiscal conservative independent, I think he would have wreaked a lot more havoc in the general election. But he's got a lot of work to do in the primary. He hasn't been out in rural Arizona, not a huge record at fundraising, even though he's aggressively going at it now, but in the past hasn't been. So he's certainly got his work cut out for him.
And as the Democrat here, you got to be licking your chops. You guys have been eyeing that congressional district, one district for years now. Now Schweikert is out. Mm-hmm. I think every Democrat but you in the Valley is running for that seat. I think there's about a dozen Democrats running for the nomination.
16, 18, something like that.
Something like that. It's a big field. Is this the year that Democrats really think that they could pull off the win?
So what what's very interesting about Schweikert is that he barely won his last 2 re-elects. He underperformed the Republican registration in the district, which happens to be where I live. So he won by 16,000 votes in a red wave year last November. He should have blown it out of the water. So that does not predict statewide success here.
And what do you think from just a defense strategy here, Republicans? Can you keep the seat up there? Are you liking the names you're seeing out there, and can they win?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is absolutely winnable for a Republican. We've got to keep in mind in the context, Democrat voter registration is down now nationally, but also in Arizona. It's certainly down in this district. Republicans still have a voter edge. Their messaging is clearly working better than Democrats' general messaging. So I think that they still stand a pretty good chance. And there are some good candidates. And you know, I just met one today that's a possible candidate, but I don't have his permission to say his name. So,
oh, geez, you can't do that,
there will
Marcus.
There will not be a lack of good Republican candidates.
All right, and get your thoughts on this government shutdown. You saw in the previous segment, Andy Biggs pretty bullish on this. He thinks this may be over pretty quickly.
That's cute.
I'm skeptical, but where are you on this?
Well, look, I have a dream that the Democrats will get organized enough to say we will vote for the clean continuing resolution if jeffepstein.gov is posted on Monday. So it will never happen. But you know, I think the Democrats really have the upper hand here, and the Republicans have the majority. This is a situation they created.
And, you know, Trump playing hardball as he always does, but he's taken kind of unprecedented tactics this past week. I mean, if you go to a lot of these government websites, you start talking about .govs, you go to them, and there are clear messages on there that every one of these, or a lot of these federal agencies are blaming the Democrats or the, quote, radical left for this shutdown. I've never seen anything like this. Let me get your thoughts on that.
I've never seen anything like it, and the reason that we've never seen anything like it is because I sense that people don't like to violate the Hatch Act.
Right.
And I disagree with one of the guests who was on TV news cycle this week. I think it is a violation of the Hatch Act.
Sure. Absolutely.
And frankly, I'll be honest with you, I was thinking, do I have standing? Can I sue and maybe get a retirement out of this if everybody else is, getting freebies?
Oh boy, breaking news. Marcus thinking about suing the administration.
But I think, what Republicans need to, focus on is, look, that's probably you've opened yourself up to some legal liability here, number one. But number two is all these things that you do, if they are found to be okay, will also come back to haunt you if and when there is a Democrat in the White House. So probably not the best strategy.
And realistically, can Democrats get what they want? I mean, they're holding out for something to be done on the Obamacare subsidies. Do they have any leverage here to play?
They absolutely do. I mean, even myself as a small business, our premiums have gone up 15% in just this renewal, in this little window that we're in. If they don't hold the line and make sure that these premiums don't skyrocket even further, you're going to have small businesses be put out. I mean, they'll be shut down, or they'll drop coverage for their folks, and lives will be cost. I mean, this really is lives on the line situation.
Okay, we've got less than 30 seconds left. Early polls show that maybe public opinion is shifting against Trump and blaming him and the administration for the shutdown. Do you think it goes that way, or can it turn?
It could turn, but we talked about this last week. When you have the executive in both the Senate and the House, it's a problem for Republicans. So they would need to get this solved. I'm optimistic of what Congressman Biggs said, that by Tuesday, if they do that, they can start re-messaging and getting back in the fight.
All right, we're going to have to end it right there. Thank you both for being here. That is all the time we have, but be sure to join us next week for more Politics Unplugged. Good night.